You finally did it. You saved your first $250,000. So why do you still feel broke? Why does it feel like you're further behind now than when you started? You spent years, maybe a decade, sacrificing, saving, and investing. You skipped the fancy dinners, drove the old car, and said no to vacations you desperately wanted. You followed all the rules. And for what? To look at your account balance and feel nothing. Or worse, to feel a new kind of anxiety. The number is big, but it doesn't feel big enough. It doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like a bigger burden, a heavier responsibility. You thought hitting this milestone would be a finish line, but it just revealed a much, much longer race ahead. The goalposts haven't just moved. They've vanished. This feeling is the secret no one in the personal finance space talks about. They sell you the dream of the first 100K, the first $250,000 as if it's a magical key that unlocks a new level of existence. But the reality is far more sobering. Saving your first $250,000 isn't the end of the struggle. For most people, it's the beginning of a profound and often painful psychological shift. It's the moment you graduate from the anxiety of not having money to the anxiety of managing it, and the crushing realization of how much more you still need. The truth is, $250,000 doesn't buy you freedom. It buys you a front row seat to how expensive freedom really is. Let's break down this feeling. It's a strange mix of disappointment and fear. The disappointment comes from the gap between expectation and reality. You expected relief, a sense of security, maybe even a little bit of pride. Instead, you're hit with the cold, hard math. In today's world, what does $250,000 actually get you? It's not enough to retire. It's maybe a down payment on a modest house in a decent area, but then you're saddled with a mortgage for 30 years. It's a buffer, a safety net, but it's a net with very large holes. You can't stop working. You can't take your foot off the gas. In fact, the pressure intensifies. Because now you have something to lose. Before, you were building from zero. Now you're protecting a nest egg that feels terrifyingly fragile. A market downturn, a medical emergency, a job loss, any of these could wipe out years of your hard work in an instant. This fear is constant. Every spending decision is scrutinized not for what it costs, but for its opportunity cost, the growth you're sacrificing by not investing that money. This stage is what I call the great stagnation. You've achieved something significant, but you feel stuck. You're too wealthy to feel poor, but too poor to feel wealthy. You're in a financial no man's land. Your friends who are still living paycheck to paycheck don't understand your anxiety. To them, you've made it. You're the rich friend. They can't comprehend why you'd be stressed with that much money in the bank. So you can't talk to them about it. You feel isolated. On the other hand, you look at people who are truly wealthy, the multimillionaires, the financially independent, and you feel an immense, disheartening distance. You've climbed a hill only to see a mountain range you didn't even know existed. This realization is brutal. The game is so much bigger than you thought. The finish line you were sprinting towards was just a mirage. So what happens now? Do you just keep grinding, saving every penny, feeling this perpetual sense of inadequacy? This is where the path forks. One path is to double down on the scarcity mindset. You become even more frugal, more obsessed with the numbers, more fearful of losing what you've built. You track every dollar, optimize every investment, and deny yourself any pleasure. Your life becomes an exercise in accumulation, but you never actually live. You're a dragon hoarding gold, but you're starving. The number goes up, but your happiness flatlines or even declines. You become a prisoner of your own success, shackled to a spreadsheet. This is a miserable existence, and it's a trap many high achievers fall into. They win the game of money, but lose the game of life. The other path is harder, but it's the only one that leads to true freedom. It involves redefining what wealth means to you. It's about shifting your focus from accumulation to alignment. You have to stop and ask yourself the hard questions. What is this money for? Not in a vague for retirement sense. I mean, specifically, what kind of life do you want to live? What experiences bring you joy? What work gives you meaning? You have to build a life you don't want to retire from. The $250,000 mark is the perfect time for this introspection because you now have options. You have breathing room. You're no longer in pure survival mode. You have the resources to start architecting your life with intention, not just by default. Maybe it means taking a calculated risk on a career change. Maybe it means investing in a skill that brings you joy. Maybe it means strategically spending some of that money on experiences that enrich your life today, not in some far-off imaginary future. This transition is about moving from being the employee of your money to being its CEO. You're in charge now. And like any good CEO, you need a vision. Without a vision for your life, your money is just a number in an account. It has no purpose. This is why you feel empty. You've been so focused on the how to save, how to invest that you've completely neglected the why. Why are you doing all of this? Your next goal shouldn't be $500,000. Your next goal should be to design a life where that $500,000 has a job to do, a job that excites you. A job that serves your happiness, your well-being, and your purpose. Think of your first $250,000 as seed capital. Not for a business, but for your ideal life. You've earned the right to start designing it. This doesn't mean you stop saving or become reckless. It means you start being deliberate. You create a plan where your money serves your life, not the other way around. You might decide that your goal is to have enough invested to cover your basic living expenses, allowing you to take a lower paying but more fulfilling job. Or maybe you'll decide to build a fun specifically for travel and hobbies, and you give yourself permission to spend it guilt-free. You start to see money not as a scorecard, but as a tool. A powerful tool for crafting a life of your own design. The feeling of being broke with $250,000 in the bank is a signal. It's your psyche telling you that the strategy that got you here won't get you where you want to go. The grit, the sacrifice, the hustle, those were the tools for Phase 1. Phase 2 requires a different toolkit: introspection, vision, and the courage to define success on your own terms. It's about learning to spend money on things that increase your happiness and fulfillment, not just your net worth. It's about building a rich life, not just a rich bank account. You've proven you can save. Now you have to prove you can live. The real work starts now. You didn't just spend the last decade saving money. You were saving up the courage to ask what you're saving it for.